Welcome to the Gaby and Alex show.
I think she means welcome to the Alex and Gaby show.
No, welcome to the Gaby and Alex show.
All right, can we please compromise? Welcome to the Galaxy show.
With Gaby and Alex.
Okay. Coming to you live from our spaceship.
The Galaxy News comes to you from this amazing spaceship. And if you're listening to the podcast, check out the YouTube video show to see us in our spaceship. Today we are bringing to you a conversation about upgrades, evolution, and what it really means to evolve, which means we upgrade. We up.
Grade.
And we felt, you know what? Let's talk about what it really means to call back soul memory, to call back our multidimensional memory, to have access to other dimensions, to be able to really code up realities, completely just create whole new worlds.
Because that all sounds sexy sometimes, but let's talk about,
what it means to transform
means.
from the 3D caterpillar to the 5D butterfly.
Yeah.
I did it. It's kind of like a...
I love your metaphors, Gaby. I really do.
Very PG lately, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anywho, so, ultimately when we're evolving out of a structure that we've been in for so long, we've been in this 3D matrix for such a long time. And to really leave that plane of existence, to have access to our creator God codes, man, it means a few things happen. Number one sign
What does it mean, Gaby? Tell me.
What does it what?
Number one, yes, tell me.
Yeah. Alex has been drinking. No, she hasn't.
I haven't had one sip of alcohol for 5 weeks now. Congratulations to me.
Cheers.
Upgrades too. What it really means.
That's right. What it really means to upgrade. Ultimately, what it really means to upgrade and to shift is a full transformation, and one of the pieces for us to evolve into higher realms and to call back so much is to release trauma. It's to heal. And it's not just even to heal our own shit. When we're evolving, we're healing and we're releasing the traumas of all the lives we've had on this gosh damn planet. You may be releasing shit from whole other lifetimes. You may have sorted this life out and now be working through all the others. And it's kind of funny because, we look at evolution and we do feel like it should just be a boom, 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 and it can be. And of course we get to activate and evolve through, just divine, awesome awakening. And then there's contrasting moments too, lessons to learn, healing and trauma to integrate. You have a cool story about what it really means and how how we look at it, because we get significant about our trauma and we get we make our traumas mean a big deal. And it's funny because Alex was having a private session with the Turing Council of Light, and this is hilarious. She'll tell you.
So yeah, in a nutshell, basically, I don't know if this is the most relevant example, but I'll share it.
Tell us what was going on in your life. You're like, hey.
So basically, I was sharing with them that I find it really weird that every time I'm on a flight and there's just a little bit of turbulence, I have a full body somatic experience, and I feel like the slightest bit of turbulence, it's like my brain just goes, this is it, you're going to die. This is it, you're dying. And
she freaks the F out on
Callie
flights.
will just she's learned not to laugh at me. She's learned to be with me and hold my hand and take it seriously. Because she's like, it's just like a roller coaster ride, honey. I'm like, this is not helping.
Yeah, you're okay in the spaceship. Isn't that interesting? Yeah,
really interesting. Yeah. Anyway, and so I was like, I'd love to sort of, what is this? And they were like, well, dear one, basically, what's that? Dear one, yes, this is because you in a parallel timeline, in a parallel life, you had a little accident in one of those flying machines. I was like, oh, And what they really mean is you fucking died in another lifetime in a plane crash.
You crashed in a plane,
And
dude,
so-
and you died.
And so my body is stored in my thing, and I always just feel so bad. Like, what's wrong with me?
so funny.
And because of what I know about as well, like, okay, don't have the fear, because if I'm stuck in the fear, then I'm going to perpetuate that reality. And so, yeah, I'm good. We got it. And so, it was always like, what's wrong with me? And then so like just getting this perspective totally changed it for me. I'm like, oh, my body's actually holding trauma from a parallel reality where I'm dead because I died in a plane crash. And I think, sometimes it's really important to understand that, like Gaby was saying at the start, some of our traumas is not the ones from this lifetime. They're ones from our linear ancestral lines. They're ones from parallel realities. And the biggest thing as well is like, not making it mean a bunch of stuff and attaching a huge story to it. Because once we do that, we literally continue to trap the trauma in us because we strengthen that story.
Yeah. Whereas we can transmute and heal all of this stuff, right? And I just felt like it was funny because, like the Jurians are literally like, oh, well, you had a little accident in a flying machine, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's like, you stubbed your toe, right? But really, she died in a car, in a plane crash.
No different to when they'd say to Kelly, no, you'll go through a few little things before you fully come into harmonious union in your divine template. And what they really mean is you're probably going to want to fucking punch the shit out of each other for a good 6 months and trigger each other because you guys are the perfect mirror. And, be grateful because you're the perfect mirror for your highest evolution. Means you're going to hate each other for a while while you upgrade and integrate into higher dimensions. Thanks for the way they say it. It's so funny. Like, you'll have a few little road bumps.
Well, that's because we do. Like, I feel like the greatest gift we can give ourselves in transformation is getting that, depending on how many lifetimes, have been anchored in this reality and all the, all the parallel, I call past lives parallel lives because it's all happening now. And ultimately, though, there's things to release. And because we're shifting, we're releasing a whole bunch of stuff, the contrasting density, the pain, the struggle, the vantage point. What if we did see death as a little accident? What if we didn't sort of react to death as such a finite, horrible thing? There was, to me, it's like this piece of evolution where you actually do get to look at, okay, cool. So that lifetime ended, but I'm eternal. I have so many lifetimes going on at the same time. And it's these pieces, right?
I think what I came to really at peace with as well was with what you were just sharing there is, let's say, for example, I do die in this lifetime from a plane crash or something, and this might not make complete sense, but my sense of peace and calm is in the knowing that, well, because I'm eternal and I'm having a million or trillion different experiences of different versions of me, if this version of me dies, I'm just going to reappear in a different timeline.
You're not dead.
I'm not dead.
We can't die.
And how fucking cool is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, so I'll just jump into another timeline. Death really is an illusion. And like, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And yet at the same time, if the trauma's there, if it's in the field, it needs to be released.
Yeah.
There's been one thing that we've been doing for a few months now, and that is realizing that the subconscious realm of the collective is getting cleaned, purged, so to speak. Now, when our subconscious mind is cleaning, releasing, think of it like a spring clean, where it's just cleaning shit out. Let's just get
Let's get this shit out of the subconscious mind.
And create new, So I kind of see it like it's a storage cabinet that's getting cleaned out so new files can go in, right?
Yeah.
And because it's what it means to get upgrades, new codes, new templates, new programs, out with the old, in with the new. Yet also what that will mean, though, is the subconscious will purge emotions. And in our human experience, we haven't learned how to navigate emotions and our subconscious in the highest. Like a lot of teachings out there talk about mindset power, which is mind over matter, which ultimately suppresses a lot of emotional purging.
Because they don't encourage you to actually feel and be with the emotion, because actually being with the emotion is what has it transmute and alchemize it, because you're in the acceptance of it. And when the emotion is allowed to be in the present with you, it actually think of it, it's almost like the emotions being released to heal, but most of us are taught to shove it back down and just go on a gratitude rant. Yep. Or something to the likes of, or smoke and drink yourself silly, shove those emotions down, do something to distract yourself, don't feel the emotion. Oh, that lumpy throat, swallow that down, don't cry. Embracing the emotions being huge, like Kelly, me and you, it's like it's been a huge part of our upgrades process.
Because there's room to install new programming, and it's, what it really means, like when there's emotions shifting out of the subconscious during upgrades, which is happening right now. Like we are receiving massive upgrades. We
don't know what to expect every day. Every day is a new day. Is it going to be magical? Right. Am I going to get triggered in the middle of nothing? I don't know.
Am I going to need 12 hours sleep or 16
or 18?
Right. Yet ultimately, right, it's one of the pieces that that I've been very conscious of this in the last few months, because it's 2020 and there's so many upgrades happening right now. There's so many upgrade waves being sent. So much is happening while we're sleeping behind the scenes, and our whole system's been reworked. Now, if I'm walking downstairs to the kitchen to make myself a cup of tea, and everything's lovely, I'm looking at the flowers on my table going, oh, that's pretty. And then, I just all of a sudden, anxiety, sadness,
grief.
And I'm like, oh, what's that? And then it just disappears. And so this is where, when things like that happen, it's understanding and knowing what that is and not freaking out and going, oh, what's wrong with me? Because if we buy into it, we will then use that as a portal to feel stuff that's not authentic. Whereas if we're like, okay, cool, I'm transmuting some emotions right now. Nothing actually happened that triggered me. I was walking down the stairs to make a cup of tea. No one came up and punched me, picked on me, told me bad things, said, Gabby, you're smelly, to make me feel sad.
And I think the biggest stretch for Kelly and I have been, obviously being in a conscious relationship and being in the same environment together. Like, we work together, we eat together, sleep together. Like, we're in the same environment all the time. We grow together. And for us, it's when we're feeling the emotion to really be aware that it's so easily we could make it mean something about the other person, right? And sometimes it's where it can be extra challenging if you are in a conscious relationship, because I always like to joke around that personal development can feel like, being in a relationship can feel like personal development on crack, right? Because you're constantly evolving extra rapidly. The biggest thing that I have really learned from this experience is, though, when I'm with, and it's almost like I'm not going to call it motivation, but a little way to inspire you to want to be with the emotion. And for me, what an upgrade feels like, let's say I feel the sadness and my brain's trying to find things to attach it to, the sadness. And let's say I'm just with it, right? And I have a cry, a really good, hearty, cathartic cry.
Cathartic?
And then cathartic.
Oh, I thought you said cathartic.
Cathartic.
A hearty cathartic.
Cathartic. Cathartic comes from Greek word kardia, which means heart. Your heart. Okay, I had to do it. All right. And so for me, what the upgrades actually feel like, it doesn't actually look like my reality is any different, but it's almost like there's these plugins, right, that is attached to the matrix, or these slave codes, as Gabby likes to call them. And it's literally I'm getting unplugged and I'm getting more of my life force energy. And in feeling that more life force energy, I'm feeling more freedom. Now, let me say that again. I'm not seeing anything different in my physical reality to say, oh, there's more money, there's more la la la. I'm allowed to feel more freedom. I feel more freedom and life force energy because I've allowed the space for the emotion to come up, be with it, hold it, feel it, release it. And that's the magic.
Right. And to me, this is the, like, what it means, is to get that it's like, see it like something's coming, and it's something that needs to be held and witnessed, because our heart field, our beautiful divine presence, the now moment and the heart field, if we breathe into our heart, if we take the emotion, place it into our heart field, and we hold it like a mother holds her child, and we're just there with it, and it's like, okay, here I am, sadness. What do you need? Like, I'm right here. And, for as long as you need to be held, I'll hold you, because this is a part of my complex, multidimensional self that is now evolving. And this particular part, if we push it away, then with respect, then we're pushing it down. We're pushing it back into the cupboard. It's not allowed to evolve. It's like, trying to stop a cocoon from cracking open to release a butterfly. If the cocoon starts cracking, that's the emotions coming out. If we suppress them, it's like we're gluing the friggin' lid back onto the butterfly, and the butterfly can't come out.
And I think I love the way the Palladians were saying it in that transmission we listened to the other day, which is like, when you're not actually honoring your emotions, it's like you humans like to open the same book, reading the same book over and over and over again. Why? Because we're attaching the story, and that story strengthens itself every single time. And then we attach the sadness emotion to that story. I'm feeling sad because this happened again. Now I'm going to find more physical evidence of this happening again. And beliefs are like little living organisms in the subconscious mind. They like to feed on physical evidence. So this is why it's so important to have your filters on the right things, because let's say I've got a filter of I'm not wanted, then my physical reality will start feeding on all the physical evidence of where I'm not wanted or why everything is not working out for me. And I think it's just these little 1% tweaks where, we think of the word upgrade. We're expecting this big magical thing, but sometimes it is.
Honestly, a lot of the times it is. I just, so many times I wake up and I just
feel like you're in your new
version, and I've got memory and skills and gifts I didn't have the day before.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, I can see things in the quantum I couldn't see, or there's been so many times where it's like complete upload of. And then there's this other time, it's like, yes, you can receive new coding, yet a part of upgrading is also making space.
Yeah.
And it's like when it's taking out, it's like, to me, evolution is releasing something, adding something, releasing something, adding something. And this is the piece. It's like, we're all happy about the receiving something. Ooh, I'll have that and that. But then when it comes to releasing, it's like, I'm trying to take it off me.
Come on.
No, I will not give you that.
Please give me the sadness.
I will not
give me the sadness.
I won't even let you know it's there. You can't.
I love it. Very good.
And it's like, it's just, this is where we love this, where our intention for this transmission is to give permission to the releasing part of evolution, to give permission to the fact that, yes, there will be a trigger that might happen that will show us into a window, into a program that's within our field that's not ours, where, it's a program that's been placed into our field, we've allowed in our field. It's a distortion because it's blocking us from love, from God, from our friggin' prime creator coding, and when we release that, we get more freedom and we evolve
and we get to upgrade our DNA.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, I think so many people are potentially fearful around really feeling these denser or bad emotions, and I'm saying bad in quotation marks, because by definition of law of attraction, if I'm feeling sad, then that's going to emit a signal and attract more things that are going to, like itself, that's going to bring me more sadness. We're not saying for you to wallow in it. It's when you attach it to the story that the law of attraction will bring you more of it, okay? But when my biggest stretch has been...
we shift, like, I see it more like, the more we anchor into a story, same thing, but but it's like the more we do that, we're actually shifting into the timelines that match that frequency.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which shifts us into a reality where there's all of these things like that.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is most people are going, I don't want to feel it because if I feel this anxiety, I'm going to create a world where there's more anxiety. Where instead we're saying, like, be with the anxiety, like nurture the, like hold it to transmute it to then release it from your field.
Yeah.
And then you get to have more of those higher, more steadier vibrations instead of the wonky up and down peaks and troughs that I was talking about in the last one. Because when you've got highs and lows, you're going to get super wonky manifestations.
I like that. And so for me, I feel like, you know, in tuning into this, it's important to share with you as well, like what is working for me and potentially what's working for Alex if she feels to share. And for me, what really works, and, you know, like we all get to play with this, our own unique self. We're all individual fractals of source consciousness. Whatever I gift you or share with you is simply my journey. And if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, then continue looking, right? Yet for me, if there's something to heal, so there's two windows for me. One window is if I'm triggered by something happening, meaning something actually happens. Alex dongs me over the head. Dong for our video viewers. And I can either react like, you know, ha ha ha, or just dong her back and play, right? Which would tell me what frequency I'm in. I'm just in
Joy,
some
play,
yay, right?
Yeah.
Am I triggered? No. If she dongs me on that and I'm like, oh, how dare you? That's disrespectful. You know, I was in the middle of talking and you donged me. You know, if I'm triggered, then I want to look at that. Like, to me, anytime I'm triggered in my world, I'm like, oh, I got triggered then. Like, I went into some kind of a dramatic spin cycle. Something in my field, you know, is not allowing me to stay connected to love and my truth and my soul, you know. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't have standards and boundaries. I'm not talking, like, please don't get me wrong. Yes, there are times in our life that maybe hitting me over the head isn't what I'm wanting, and that's okay, and exploring that. But then there's times where we get, as humans, we get triggered into lower vibrational frequency. And I feel like we have these programs within our field for a reason. They're there to stunt our evolution. The more triggering programs that are in our field are actually blockers to higher frequency realms. So that means that we could be, you know, yay, our frequency is awesome. We're riding the frequency, you know, we're going into higher timelines, but then something activates and it pulls us down. And what this is doing for humanity is creating a block to evolution because the frequency gets blocked. You can't continue evolving. We can't continue evolving if it's evolve, slum it down. And so that's where if I do see a trigger, I'm like, okay, I've got to work on that. That's where I'll do my own inner alchemy on it. Or if I can't, I'll take it to an awesome healer, activator. I'll go to my friends. I'll go to the people.
Whatever.
I'll go to the people in my field that have the gifts to be able to help recode. And number two for me is allowing subconscious to purge. So, you know, like if I have emotions coming up to the surface and I know that they're not from an actual thing happening in this reality, I hold them and I let them, and this is what I do. So what I do, I've done a lot of heart activation, so I really do recommend everyone does a lot of heart activated work. Work with anyone you know that can activate your heart field. Come work with me, come work with Alex, or anybody else that comes into your field, because the heart field can transmute and heal in a microsecond so much. And so for me, when an emotion comes up, I do place it into my heart field. I take a deep breath, and I take that breath into two centers. I take that breath into my crown, my third eye, and into my heart field. And I hold that breath for a little bit and I let it go. I simply then go into presence, nowness, and I beautifully hold the emotion. I see it like it's in my heart field, and I just sit with it in the nowness frequency. The more deep, slow breaths I take, the more my nervous system calibrates into nowness. To me, breath is so powerful. And then music. classical music, high frequency music, playing a music, or if you've got like, any like musical instruments at home that are like sound bowls or anything that has a resonance, a harmony to it that will calibrate your frequency. So I will utilize my own light language sometimes. I'll just sit there and all of a sudden I'm coding. Or does this make sense? So to me it's like nowness, breathing, centering, because when it's happening and we're in the illusion of it, we're spinning. When we center, we can observe, we can hold. When we center, we can observe a trigger and do something about it. When we center, we can observe the releasing of an emotion and hold it there. And so I wanted to share this with you that, know that any triggers that come up are you releasing frequency blockers in your field that are tapping you out, because you can activate multidimensional memory, but if the frequency keeps us here, we're not accessing the highest realm of timelines. So you may have multidimensional memory, but we can be experiencing scarcity. Who cares if we're multidimensional, but we're friggin' experiencing scarcity timelines of experience. The more we release these things, we get to experience more abundant timelines and be multidimensional. Does that, yeah? What would you like to add in for yourself on that one?
For me, what always calms me down when I'm feeling a trigger and how I work through it is, and sometimes this can be easier said than done, but I always talk about this, is meditation is my medicine. And so it's like actually like I can be in the biggest trigger around something about not enoughness, about like a gap. If I've had a little trigger with Kelly or something, whatever it is, and just going deep into like, for me, TM has been a game changer because just focusing on that mantra and allowing it to send me down into that deep sea of consciousness, as I like to call it. From that place, it transcends me, and I feel that universal consciousness, that oneness, and it's almost like in that space, my subatomic particles, because when you're in trigger, your subatomic particles almost look like a lot of the time. Have you ever noticed that someone in trigger looks different? Right? And so for me, it's like doing meditating has my subatomic particles just kind of calibrate. And
it does relax the nervous system, and fully.
Yeah, sometimes I actually do like to ask a quality question before meditation, like, why am I feeling this control, or what would it take to release this emotion, or hey, sadness, another thing, and then going to, and almost always I'll either feel like just a sense of absolute peace and calm and tranquility, and I'll come out and I'll actually be ready to approach the person or talk to Kelly and be like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. And by that stage, she's like, I'm so sorry too. And it's like comes from such a heart space. So meditation is my way of dropping into heart. And another tool for me I actually use is like pretty much I reckon 80% of my triggers come from my little girl. So it's actually having a photo of my little girl on call, especially the one where I judged her when she was really quite overweight, like really fatty little girl. And I look at this beautiful photo. I'm like, hey, Alex. Hey, little Alex, and I take her into my heart. Like, what are you needing from me right now? Like, why are you feeling unsafe? Like, I've got you. Come into my heart. We're going to come into my spaceship. Like, and I think this is some of the biggest work I've done to release a lot of that not enoughness and shame and stuff that I did feel that I didn't even realize. So there is a plethora of tools, but as you can see, what Gabby and I have both shared, all of them are primarily based on filtering through heart.
Yeah. And before we fly off to another destination, go into hyperdrive, just to enter, because we can't transmit this when we're in hyperspace. We actually can't broadcast. So we're about to go into hyperspace. So we felt to just anchor all of this in and remind you that as we evolve, we do receive upgrades. And in order for this to happen, we can experience this release, this healing of, this releasing of...
A bit of turbulence almost.
A bit of turbulence can. And for me, it is this final message of trust. Just trust that it's all happening for us, and that it's okay to release something, to spring clean something, to then bring in newness.
Because the other side is going to be so much sexier.
It's always better. We love you so much.
Bye.
Yay! Hyperdrive, speed.